Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Third Eye Podcast. Anyway, that's enough of that. What are we going to talk about? Well, I think probably the only subject that comes to mind for me right now is the topic of forgiveness. I think a lot of people don't really know what it means to forgive, period. I think true forgiveness comes with a kind of healing that allows you to behave differently. People don't know what that looks like. And I think that to truly forgive someone, it just looks different than everything we've, for the most part, seen. And forgive who? That's a hard question. I think we should forgive everybody. Yeah, that means, unfortunately, or fortunately, Diddy, anybody else on the Epstein list? We don't know. We don't know who's all on there. They won't release it. At some point, we'll probably get it, and the hard pill we'll have to all swallow is that people that we like are going to be on there. Like, what if Jack Black is on there? I love Jack Black. I used to make a joke that I was Jack Black's illegitimate son. I fucking love him. But Jim Carrey's on there. I get the vibe that he's done a lot of psychedelics and really digged into the question of what we're doing here. And I think there's something to the effect of kind of like we're all playing a character. And forgiveness kind of falls in with us playing this kind of weird game where we've chosen to be a character who is offended or not offended by this or that. And with the use of psychedelics, a lot of us, maybe not everybody, but we can all start to kind of back away from the current perspective we have and get a bigger picture view of everything in our world and how it affects one another, because everything affects everything, in my opinion. I think you could it's kind of like a weird butchered downstream explanation of the butterfly effect, where any choice you make is going to have ramifications throughout time that you can't possibly expect your choices to somewhere downstream maybe even cause civilizations to collapse. But think about this. The Faustian Bargain is a poem that was written forever ago. I should probably look up when it was written. But the Faustian Bargain was written forever ago. And Nikola Tesla derived inspiration from that to make, I believe, some of his inventions. So, a poem about selling your soul to the devil, inspired downstream, decades later, many decades later, all of this technology that we see around us. You're able to view me right now because somebody read a poem and was like, huh, that's pretty fucking cool. And it's not like something like that affects you right away. It's probably something that just creates an idea, like a seed growing over time in your mind that slowly forms, and when it flowers, the idea is at its fullest capacity in your mind for you to grab a hold of it and transmute it into the real world. But the Faustian Bargain is a deal to exchange something essential like one's soul, principles, or future for immediate gains such as power, wealth, or knowledge. So, did Nikola Tesla sell his soul to the devil? This leads me to a good question. What is the mark of the beast? A mark on the right hand or forehead that allows for the complete control of what you can and cannot buy or trade, goods, services probably even, I'd imagine. And I wonder where Tesla is leading us. It's reformulated now in a sort of reanimation type. We've got our new Tesla. He is Elon. Elon is our Tesla, and now he is Faustian bargaining his way. Sorry for that butcher. He is pushing us forward into a new era of technology. I wonder if technology is even good for us. I know it's kind of funny to say when I've got a mic in front of me and I've got earphones on, but I wonder if technology is good for us at all. I have theories that what if technology is Satan itself? I know people have said that. You're like, fucking dumb, dude. What are you talking about? People have said this. You're just repeating them. Okay, so maybe I am repeating them. Maybe I'm just expanding on the idea then. The idea then, I believe, needs to be expanded on, that maybe technology is Satan. Many people have said that, but they don't elaborate too much, I don't think. Not enough for me to care, or me enough to look. But let's get down to my idea. I think it's possible, if telekinesis is real, if mind sharing, if sharing our ideas without speaking our words, if we can communicate through telepathy and things like that, with more and more research coming out to prove these things, I'm beginning to wonder, what if the Faustian bargain, much like the Bible in a way, is referencing something real and true that we won't realize the ramifications to until far later down the line? And am I saying we should stop the use of technology? Not necessarily. It's obviously doing some good for us, but what good could we be doing for ourselves if we had a power to heal ourselves and to manifest things into reality with our own mind? So, what I think it's possible. I have a really big conspiracy theory here, folks. Buckle up. I wonder if it's possible that magic doesn't exist in our realm, in our universe, because we think that it doesn't. What if your perception that this world is magicless, and because you grew up around people who thought it was void of magic, that what you've ended up doing, not of your own volition, is putting stock into a world without magic? Because if we, so let's jump back in time a little bit. I know I'm all over the place, but let's jump back in time to when the Toba volcano erupted, and we got down to maybe 2,000, 3,000 people on planet Earth, period. That's the population of my hometown, Mountain. I'm not going to say the full name. Anyway, that's the name of my hometown. That's their population. That's 2,000, I think 500, something like that. It's 2,000 to 3,000 people. I think when we get down to that low of a population, that those abilities of telepathy, maybe even abilities of telekinesis, moving things with our mind, shaping objects with our mind, creating objects from nothing, possibly. Hear me out. I think it's possible that when we're down to 2,000 to 3,000 people, there's a possibility that if you can get all of those 2,000 to 3,000 people, or even most of them, to believe in things such as magic, what if their minds manifest that into reality? What if you can have the avatar? Or what if you can have all the people on planet Earth, all of their minds pointed in one direction? You'd get what all of their minds are pointed at. If they're pointed at industry, you will get an industrial civilization. So what I'm getting at is, where along the line, when we went to 2,000 to 3,000 to 7 to 8 billion, how hard must it be to create a world with magic when basically none of us believe that it exists? So, in a world where there's 2 to 3,000 people, it's possible that the brain power there, that if all 2 to 3,000 people believed in magic, that magic could exist just out of the brain power, the manifestation power of those people, if they all truly believe it and act upon it. I think it's possible. That's pretty far-fetched, I know, but that's kind of where I feel like forgiveness is going to be tied into all this, because I feel like if we're going to turn this massive Titanic of 8 billion people around, there's a lot of people out there who've done horrible things who most of us are going to assume don't need to be saved in any kind of way. They deserve to go to prison. Maybe they deserve to die. You're probably one of those people who's been abused by one of those people who deserve to die, in your opinion. But those people deserve to be saved, in my opinion. And people aren't going to like that. Yeah, I want to save probably your dad, who might have, done things to you. Look, I'm not wanting to take him out for a drink. I don't want to toast him for his mistakes that he's done. I want to bring the child out of this person or that, the perfect pure soul made of love that came from a universe that's non-physical. I want to speak to that, because that thing is buried deep beneath the ego, and the ego on the surface level is a horrible, horrible thing used like a tool, an advanced tool that can learn. It is used autonomously to help us survive. And if we can break past the ego and touch once again, connect to the thing that we were before we ever had to survive on planet Earth, before we had to survive our parents, before we had to survive our school system, before we had to survive the government, if we could tap back into that and speak from it, we might realize people like Hitler, people like Diddy, people like Trump, people like Biden, people like, the list goes on and on. But you understand what I'm saying to some degree. Maybe you don't agree with me, but you understand that what I'm saying is there's a level of what we are beyond human being that I think, when called upon and properly coaxed forward past all of the mistakes that you've made as a human being, that there is something within that person to have a comeback moment. People need a comeback moment. Everybody needs a comeback moment. In the Bible, there are people who have comeback moments that if Christians would read the entire Bible, if they would read the entire Bible, you might understand that demons can have a comeback moment. And there's supposedly some kind of spiritual warfare going on, good against evil. We've all fucking saw the koi fish in the pond. But I suppose the point I'm trying to get at here is there is kind of a battle between good and evil, and I suppose there's going to be a culmination at some point. I would hope so. I wouldn't want to fight evil for eternity, but unfortunately I do believe in an infinite reality with infinite universes, and with infinite universes there's likely a universe where there's constantly going to be war. Possibly. I don't know if that technically means that, because if in an infinite universe there's possibly a universe where war is going to go on constantly, that means there's also a universe where war is going to go on constantly, under the impression that it's going to go on constantly, but it won't. It'll come to an end eventually. It's just that we're going to think that it'll go on forever. Maybe we're in that world too. But my point, I don't have a point. Let's not talk about points. I don't have a point. I'm talking about random shit here. I just want people to start forgiving one another because it's necessary. And I'm not asking for it all in one day. It doesn't need to happen. I'm not asking even for the fact that you need to go out there and forgive anybody at all. But if we had to forgive anyone, I would start with forgiving yourself. You've made mistakes. You've done things. I've done things. I've done horrible things. Maybe not that horrible, but they're pretty bad. And you've done pretty bad things too. I'm willing to bet money on it. you, the great listener. And look, I'm not saying you're a bad person. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying despite all the bad things you've done, you're probably an angel of light. You are probably a really good person beneath all the bad things you've done. If you're angry, you're probably a good person. If you're really upset and sad and miserable, you're probably a good person. If you're happy, delightful, if you're spreading cheer everywhere you go, I hope you're a good person. And I think everybody's a good person deep down. We're just hiding it. Some of us are so deep in the well of hell that we think there is no such thing as redemption. And this is going to sound really fucking silly, but I got into a bit of a debate with my fiance over this fucking K-pop movie. I don't know what it is. Demon Hunters. K-pop Demon Hunters, I think is what it's called. And I didn't watch it, but she watched it. And I got into a bit of a weird, I guess, philosophical debate about it with her, where she was talking about the demons in the show and the girls, and something about how there was nothing they could do to save the demons, and that they had that the girls had to like do some kind of magic. They had to do some kind of thing where they sealed all the demons away and saved the day. I don't know. I didn't watch the movie. But I got into a bit of a heated discussion with her about redemption. Because one of the demon men or whatever kind of got in some kind of like funky, flirty relationship with one of the girls, I guess. And somewhere in the mix there, he kind of, I guess, sacrifices himself to help one of the demon hunters, one of the girls, and it gives her an ability, this extra ability that allows her to complete the task that she needs to complete to save everybody, do something fantastic. And I was like, are you a demon anymore if you redeem yourself? What is the meaning of redemption here? Like, redemption has a meaning as well. We might as well look that up. What is the meaning of redemption? I feel like if you make a redeeming move, like if you're a demon, if you are a horrible person, maybe you've made horrible mistakes, but maybe at the very end you have some kind of spiritual clarity that was never really you, that it was all the ego on top that kind of controlled everything, like a massive structure with infinite limbs and arms and eyes and legs and fingers and tongues and lust. Redemption, the action of saving or being saved from sin, error, or evil. The action of regaining or gaining possession of something in exchange for payment or clearing a debt. That next one doesn't really matter as much as the first. The action of being saved from sin, error, or evil. You'd think if this guy sacrificed himself that he wouldn't technically be a demon anymore. I think some of the argument that we had was that he was never like actually saved, that he only like sacrificed himself to still kind of like die, or not even like nothing good happened to him in the end. That's kind of the point. And my point was, if you redeem yourself, why isn't there something good out of that for you? Like, even if you die, I feel like there should be some kind of like recognition that there's something good in it, in the redemption, because like in some kind of way, I think a lot of people are not going to like this. I think Hitler is in not necessarily heaven, but I think there's somewhere beyond this physical realm that Hitler is in that's not necessarily hell, that's teaching him a very, very valuable lesson about how many lives he destroyed and tortured, and also he's probably learning how he got there, because let's think about this. Apparently Hitler wanted to be an artist. What is that about? Did he get kicked out of art school? What happened to Hitler that made him such an evil tyrant? Hitler. We've seen the mustache. Hitler. That's besides the point. So Hitler wants to be an artist. Why? What happened to that? A dream that was central to his identity in his youth. He was rejected twice from the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts and never achieved his professional goal. His father, Alois Hitler, wanted him to become a civil servant, A path the young Adolf rebelled against. Art represented an escape from the workday existence he dreaded. He believed he had a talent. In his autobiography, Hitler expressed that he was so convinced of success that the announcement of my failure struck me like a thunderbolt in a clear sky. Wow, that's kind of beautiful. A thunderbolt in a clear sky, almost like divine intervention. You feel like you were stopped. But see, that's another thing too. People with, you gotta try and retain some optimism. You have to be optimistic. I'm not saying Hitler was like not very optimistic, but what? Rejected twice? What does that mean? Twice? How bad was that rejection? Like, anyway, somewhere in the mix of believing that you have a talent, an artistic talent, and life fucking you in your ass and making you believe somehow that you don't have what you have within you. I don't know. I think everybody starts out kind of knowing what they've got, and somewhere along the line, society, the education system, fucking stress, whatever it is, having to get a job, having to work all this out is so confusing that you forget what you started with. Like, you come into this world with some tools, some metaphysical tools that will help you and the people around you and the world in general, but you forget that you have them and forget how to use them after 20 or 30 years of absolute hell or more, if you're unlucky enough to live long enough in an unfortunate and miserable way that you just kind of fall apart or commit suicide. But after his rejections, Hitler saw his later political ambitions as a different, grander from a creative project. Some historians note that he came to see the Third Reich as his artistic masterpiece. As dictator, he also prompted traditional realistic art while condemning modern art as degenerate. So apparently they're saying here that the rejection shaped him. His failed artistic ambitions and the subsequent years of poverty in Vienna left a lasting and bitter impression on Hitler. So his environment helped. It was conducive for this, I suppose. Why would Vienna reject Hitler? For what? That doesn't make much sense to me unless, of course, I feel like art is subjective, of course. What art was he making? The rejection of Adolf Hitler by Vienna refers to his two failed attempts to gain admission to the Academy in 1907 and 1908. The Academy's admissions committee deemed his drawing skills unsatisfactory, particularly his poor renderings of the human figure. How much practice did he have? What the fuck is up with that? Like, poor renditions of the human figure. That doesn't mean you're a bad artist, but can you imagine someone telling you, maybe you feel like they have some authority on the matter of art because society has unintentionally groomed you to believe that there can be people who have some sort of authority over what is or isn't art when it's subjective, that your whole worldview can shatter and change, and then what you think is art is your Third Reich, your generals in your army. I get it. I saw, like, when I was a young man and I was a dirty, cold-blooded thief, I saw my thievery as its own kind of art. I would plan heists to steal weed from my parents while I was at school. I would be at school, everybody would be doing their work or being social, talking to one another, and me, the outcast in the outcast group of two other outcasts who eventually graduated and then the other one dropped out, by myself had to merge into another group of outcasts, and just I was that person. I was uncommon amongst uncommon outcasts because I was a piece of shit, a cold-blooded thief, probably narcissistic, I guess you could say. I had narcissistic qualities. I was behaving in some ways that were definitely, I didn't respect anyone around me. Therefore, because I didn't respect them, I feel like I could treat them however I wanted, and I could do whatever I wanted with their stuff. It was as good as mine, and there was nothing you could do to stop me, because anything that you would try to do, if you tried to, like, bring it to my attention, usually usually it also was never brought to my attention in a good way, yelling at my face through the crack of my door, too afraid to come in. Like, it's complicated. The point is, where along the line you get rejected twice and you turn into Hitler. There's weight with the word Hitler. We can say Hitler and we immediately all know there's like a twinge in my heart. Hitler. We can't even wear the mustache anymore. I'm not saying I liked the mustache. I like my mustache. But we have to forgive one another because Hitler's in a place right now, probably, I think, where he's learning his lesson. And he's not being tortured for it. He's probably, I don't know, crying his bodiless eyes out. He doesn't have a body in this place. I imagine he's just in pure misery and weeping over the havoc he wreaked on versions of himself, because that's all I think it is. I think we're all just versions of, we're all the same thing. It's all water that it's dropped through a biological filter. It's energy dropped through a biological filter. The biological filter being everything that's ever happened to you in your life and your environment, and everything that's happened to your parents leading up to how they treated you when they raised you. Anything that happened to you between you and your family when you were kids. All that stuff shaped you to be who you were. The problem that we're all having is that we can't forgive ourselves for the mistakes that we made in the environment that we grew up in. And we need to learn how to do that. We need to look at however horrible it was and say to our past selves and our current inner child that we still have, I'm sorry that I did that. I'm sorry that I put you through that. I'm sorry that I didn't think it through harder. I know that if I knew better, I could have done better probably. But in some cases, I did know better and I still didn't care. So, and that was probably, I would say, impartial, a result of my environment. When people don't pay attention to you and you don't get the right kind of love, you enact some sort of metaphysical revenge that only ends up in ruining your life more, ruining people's lives around you. And like I said, we're all the same person living different lives in different biological meat suits. This is a meat suit. I'm driving around a little meat vehicle, and this fucking thing, I step out of it every once in a while because I'm like, God damn, this shit's fucking hard, and there's so many problems to deal with, and sometimes I just want to sometimes I want to step out of it and not come back, but I know I'm supposed to be here for something. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm supposed to be here for something. Josiah Maynard has got a quest. I don't know what the quest is, but I know it starts with forgiveness, everybody. And you've got to learn how to forgive yourself. You've got to start there. You've got to start with forgiving yourself. You've made mistakes, and you've got to start sitting down with yourself in a quiet place, in a very quiet place. And when those things start popping up like they always pop up, they're going to pop up. You're not going to forget it because it's there for you to heal it. You need to confront it, and not in some angry way. You're not going to confront it, beat the shit out of it. You're not going to confront it. You're not going to lock it away. You're not going to bottle it up. You're not going to fucking drape it over in wax and let it harden over time and freeze it, and you're not going to do anything. You're going to go and confront it with peace in your heart, with love in your heart, because past all of that pain and hurt that you've experienced is a tiny child that is defending itself from you with your own ego. Get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. That's what that means. The ego is standing in your way, and you've been a large part of what's created that ego, and so is the environment. It's not all on you, but it's also all on you. It's a very complicated equation. All I know is that you have to probably start with forgiving yourself. You have to forgive yourself, and then work on forgiving the people around you, because when you forgive yourself first, it allows you to look at the forest and not just the trees, and realize that some patches got a little sandy and didn't grow great roots, and some patches didn't get a lot of water, and some patches got kudzu vine growing all over it, and they're draining it like a vampire, and their environment is seeping the life out of them slowly, like they work at McDonald's or any other fast food chain. Don't sue me, McDonald's. But the point here is, because I actually do like McDonald's. McDonald's is good. I can't have the fries are great. I have a very specific, the fries first. All right, fries first. But anyway, forgive yourself, everybody. And then from within, you can spread the light that comes from forgiving yourself around to other people carefully, very carefully, because it's so easy to make a mistake. And all I really know is that you gotta try and learn from your mistakes. Every time you make a mistake, you gotta immediately, like turning the other cheek, you gotta be like, bam! Now what did I do wrong? Something happened. What did you do wrong? Can you fix that? Can you learn from that? Because if you can immediately turn the other cheek and figure it out, you will probably live a much better life. You'll be able to live a much better life if you can learn that every problem that comes your way is just a lesson in disguise. And I know that's been said before too. You can learn how to forgive yourself as well along with that. Because when you make a mistake, you won't be so hard on yourself. You won't be an asshole to you. Because if you're an asshole to you, why are you going to want to... Nobody's going to hang around you. You're a dick to yourself, dude. You're an ass. You fucking hate you. And you think anybody else is going to like you? No. I don't like you. Because you don't like you. I wouldn't like me if you didn't like me. So, if I judge everything based off of how you feel, I'm going to live a miserable life and never like myself. So I have to like myself on my own terms. Don't like yourself on anybody else's terms either. That's another deadly trap. That's a sticky rat trap that's meant to kill you as well. You're meant, when you step in those traps, to not be able to find your way out. You're meant to feel stuck, where every step that you possibly take feels like walking up a volcano with active lava, not knowing wherever you stick that foot could be plunged into something and you'll lose it. And people are so scared of taking that first step that they refuse to. Not knowing that at the top of the mountain is an inactive volcano with maybe a group of a lot of people doing psychedelics playing around a drum circle. So, that's probably all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back next Tuesday for the next one, where I'm just going to ramble to myself. I am the only guest right now. I hope you enjoy that. Bye-bye, everybody.